What is the secret to unlocking your full potential? What makes your idols any different than you? How do you become the person you've always wanted to be in life? This is where you get all of your questions answered. My name is Justin Shank, and I sit down with some of the most epic individuals who are changing the world with their actions in business and in life. We discuss how they did it, why they pushed themselves, and more importantly, how they were able to focus on continuous growth to achieve their dreams. Welcome to the Growth Now movement. This week, I sit down with Dr. Tommy John. You guys may know the name Tommy John because of Dr. Tommy John's father, who is known worldwide as the first pitcher to recover from a specific surgery, which is now affectionately known as Tommy John surgery. But who Dr. Tommy John is a successful chiropractor, now known for his approach on youth sports, understanding how the body works, and how to truly make sure children these days do not incur the injuries that they've been incurring. But as of late, Dr. Tommy John has made waves talking about COVID-19 and the pandemic that we're going through, and that's actually what we discussed today. You see, Dr. Tommy John is a big believer that our immune systems are the things that end, quote-unquote, pandemics. And so he's a big fighter right now about the rules and regulations put on us by our government. We talk about vaccines, we talk about the approach that's being taken, what's right, wrong, and indifferent, and everything else in between. Look, this episode may rub some of you the wrong way, but I encourage you to listen. Listen to how I approach the conversation, listen to how we talk about what's happening, and listen how you can take back control of your life during this crazy time. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this conversation. Now, before we get to the episode, I want to let you guys know that we are currently accepting new members into the Purpose and Movement Mastermind. Head over to purposeandmovement.com and grab your spot today. Now, without further ado, let's get to the episode with Dr. Tommy John. Dr. Tommy John, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited about the conversation. So obviously a former guest to the show, great friend of mine, Dr. Bill Moss, introduced us. And we'll get into the reasons why I reached out to him and said, hey, can you introduce me to him? But why don't we go back a little bit into your story? Obviously, anybody specifically who's a baseball fan, if not way beyond that, knows the name Tommy John. And obviously now, you're a doctor and you've really kind of, what you experienced growing up, you really kind of made that your life's work, which is kind of a weird how that all happened. But why don't we get into that? How did you get into chiropractic? What's your backstory?
So we came, obviously we were a very, very athletic, very sports-minded family, but we were able to sample sports. Everybody's like, you had to get into baseball because of your dad. No, I had to pester him all the time to practice with me, to play, to do stuff because he didn't want to push me. He didn't want to push me. So they did a really good job, my mom and dad, of raising 4 kids to where we were allowed to kind of sample, fail. We were always outside. We just had a really healthy childhood, as healthy as it could be in that spotlight. Do you know what I mean? Because there was that as well. My mom kind of faltered a little bit to trying to put us in height order, dress us the same, rouge. But I mean, some of the stuff that you see that is absolutely, I'm not ashamed. But then when I would go to Yankees games and my buddies would go with me in 6th grade and my mom's putting rouge on my cheeks. Now I'm incriminating myself right now. If anybody knows what rouge is, it's blush. And blush was used. It was like, Mom, why are we doing this? Because you guys look peaked. Well, no, it's because the camera could possibly be on us, right? And she just knew that. And we didn't have any concept of that. But then when I brought a deep Italian buddy of mine, and he gets out, my mom's like, okay, line up. And he's like, nah, Mrs. John, I'm good. Like Northern Jersey, like Italian.
Not doing it.
I don't think so. Like if this gets around to like my brothers, they're going to lose. I mean, I'm not going to have ziti. I'm not going to have, we're done. So I was thankful for that. I grew up through all the way till high school. I was playing all the sports. My senior year, I specialized in baseball because I knew I was going to play college baseball. And I went to college and I played at Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina for 4 years. I got a bachelor's my 4 years there. And then I stuck around for a 5th year to get a master's in health and exercise science. And so all the while I was a DH, I played first base, I pitched. I had an infection in my shoulder just to be kind of proactive. And I had a little achiness in my shoulder. And to go get it checked out, it was a summer summer collegiate league, they go to get an MRI and they inject dye into the socket. The injection they gave me took staph into my capsule, and I got a deep body infection in my shoulder. So that's life-threatening.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. Like, I got to see what the hospital can do to you. And then they also saved my life with what the hospital can do for you. You know what I mean? So I got to see two things. Like, wow, iatrogenic deaths are real. Medical cause deaths are number 3 cause of deaths in the nation. That's a very real thing. But they also saved my life. That's a very real thing, you know? So I got to see some really cool stuff. Unfortunately, my shoulder never made it back. The infection ate away the capsule. And so I got to see what rehab was like. I got to see the power of the body. I always knew deep down, like connecting with self, and a lot of intention behind a lot of stuff. I was very passionate in a lot of things I did, that it wasn't just arbitrary, do it to do it. It didn't matter what it was. If I was going to throw a rock at a tree, or I was going to swing from a vine across a creek, like I was really going to try to do my best and be present, I guess they call it now, right? Like, yeah, that's how I was. And it was wired within me. I feel like we all are like that. But when I was exposed to that, I started to pull back. Why do injuries occur? And I got to see physical therapy from the inside, as my dad saw therapy through his surgery and everything else. Well, I pitched 3 years of professional baseball. After that, it wasn't fun anymore. And I got into sports rehabilitation, sports performance, personal training, and private baseball lessons. So I parlayed all those skill sets into this pretty badass job for myself. I got to wear a cutoff t-shirt to the office. It was fantastic. I was my own boss. It was something very freeing, but I was also helping a lot of people. It was cool because we got to see people with diabetes and MS and Parkinson's, down to developmental disorders in youth, to the professional athlete who tore a hamstring or is trying to go back for a free agent year or whatever. Right. And so I did this for 7-8 years. And then all of a sudden I started to see a trend in our facility in Chicago. There were a lot of injuries occurring in youth athletes that the severity of the injury was so degenerative in nature. It was stuff I would normally see in 40, 50, 60-year-olds. I was seeing in kids. This was like 2009.
Wow.
And so that's when I'm like, okay, something's not right here. We were doing so well before. Like, we were upstream, helping many people, changing lives, helping people heal themselves, get into position to heal themselves, that I realized I was too far downstream. I wasn't, and really my baseball lessons, I was making a fortune. And I'm like, I'm kind of part of the problem. Like, I'm making money in the wintertime when these kids should not be throwing a baseball. They should be doing something else. Exactly. So I had an attack of conscience. I was weighing out a new profession, and I wanted to go to the nervous system. So chiropractic was it for me. It was kind of as high as you can get in the food chain, which is the central nervous system, without going spiritual.
Right.
I could go clergy, but I went just, I stuck with like a 4-year program. I shut down my business, rented my house, went to the same school Dr. Bill Moss went to down in Life University down in Marietta, Georgia, at 32 years old. Who does that? Like, that was a big thing where everyone's just no support.
Take 4 years off at 32 is like
that. Think about that, right? But it was almost like, would you do an investment in yourself? For how much is school costing? Would you do an investment for that much? Of course. And I believe so strongly. I'm a very heart-led person. I follow my heart often. I've gotten burned a crap load of times, but in there you learn, right? I have no regrets. I have no anything. And this was just something I couldn't ignore. I couldn't get sleep. It wasn't leaving my consciousness. So I shut down everything, got my degree, met Dr. Moss, met a ton of great people. And now I wanted to put it all together so I could cut out the middleman. Now I have chiropractic to check the structural integrity, connect body to brain, brain to body. Now we go into movement. I got a movement therapy approach. We got nutrition. We got energy work, meditation, sleep. I call them the 8 essentials. It's a belief in something greater than yourself, the purpose, relationships, sleep, naps, meditation, prayer, breath, sunshine exposure, nourishment, movement. Like, some imbalance, some disease, some problem is going to fall within those 8. So basically what I've done now is, after having been in the business for 20 years of performance, I'm in San Diego, California. Now I have a facility that's literally anybody who walks through the door, I'm just going to help you find what's getting in the way of you being your best self, and then help you get to that point to where you realize the power within, that's not only to heal, but to actually attain things and attract things. Whatever it is that you can dream of is yours. So that's my kind of mission and my mantra.
Yeah, no, and I love it. And the idea of chiropractics and my story with this whole thing is a long time. So when I was a kid, I broke both my hips.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so like, I've been like, Dr. Bill was obsessed with my x-rays. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, what is going on? Like your neck is going the wrong way and this, and like just craziness. And so I broke my hips when I was a kid, and that kind of just messed me up. So I ended up going to a chiropractor for pain at one point, which is why most people come to you from in the beginning.
Right,
I
exactly.
And this was probably 10 years ago or so. And I hated the process. They didn't listen. They did whatever. And then obviously knowing Dr. Bill for probably 7 or 8 years before I finally said yes to him, I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. And it's really kind of helped me a ton, but it's because I did the work. Like I did the research as to like, what is chiropractic? How does it help you? And it's much more than just pain, right?
Exactly.
Like you're helping, like you said, the nervous system. You're helping individuals feel better 24/7. Like a chiropractic adjustment can help your allergies, like just crazy stuff. Right.
Right.
And so that's kind of what led me to you in a way. And I want to kind of jump right into kind of this. I don't want to say a movement, but this narrative you're beginning to lead with what's happening right now with COVID-19 and the quote unquote pandemic. People have other words for it.
Yep.
But let's talk about that a little bit. And what's your take from the beginning, right? Because look, we're 4.5 months in or 5 months in, whatever it is. And the narrative has changed from their standpoint so many times. What's been your take from the beginning?
So here's what's cool. And this was, first of all, when it first started, nobody knew anything, right? Like nobody had any idea. It was all this new thing. It was mainstream. I was hearing it down the grid because I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news in 15 years. Right. So my news is conversations at the mailbox. It's conversations in my office. It's conversations at the grocery store. So I was getting conversations. I'm like, oh, I didn't sweat it because here's the thing. I've been doing the work for 19 years. Like I've changed my life and I pay in those 8 essentials. I do the thousands of brush strokes a day that I'm constantly paying into this compound interest account, right? That I might use, I might not. But the reason I build it up so much is that in the state of disaster, whether it's divorce or a trauma or a death in the family, some insult, chemically, physically, emotionally, something, or a virus, something, you have so much to defend against it and ways to adapt, you don't really sweat it, you know? So when it did show up, me personally, I was like, sweet, like, all right, like, let's see how we're going to adapt to this. It really would, it let me feel good about the work that I had done because I wasn't phased from the beginning personally. So the personal growth I was going to have to do because we're supposed to level up with everything, right? Like we always have to evolve and adapt everything. Okay, what am I going to do now? Well, my job then is to be a voice of reason, to come back and reestablish what people are going to now forget about, because when we're afraid, we forget and we lose faith. We get knocked off beam. Even when I don't call it sick, right? Dr. Bill doesn't call it sick, but when we express symptoms, your body's doing exactly what it needs to do. Dude, I've gotten injured. I've expressed symptoms. And in those states, you want to curse your belief system. You want to doubt it. You want to go back and be like, this is bullshit. Like, I need drugs. I need this. I need that. This is not right. I don't feel right. And then it's like, wait. There's this intelligence inside of you that knows way more than anything you could possibly imagine. What is it trying to tell you? What is your body trying to tell you right now? And so what is this trying to tell us right now? What can we control? Bottom line, whether it's trying to prevent arm injuries in youth sports, whether it's trying to, extend life after 60, whether it's trying to, create a healthy path for a 3-month-old or a virus of any kind, the solution doesn't change. It's just another a stimulus, so to speak, in life. And so it's really, what can we worry about? Are you really going to wash your hands more than you were? Like, are you going to stay apart from this whole thing of thinking that somebody is, as if germs cause disease? That's a big one too, because I had to bring that to the forefront, because we would never have survived if a germ simply, and I can speak from that. Staph aureus got into my shoulder socket. Wait, you got sick because of germs. Germs caused that. No, it was my body's inability to deal with that. That's why. And it was actually its process. The infection was the immune response to staph. It kept it in my shoulder and it was going to do the best it could. What it what my body knew was there wasn't supposed to be a needle that was supposed to break the skin. Right. And it wasn't supposed to be touched by 4 doctors. And it wasn't supposed to go into the capsule of my shoulder. Bro, body did exactly what it was supposed to do. So the thing was, I was trying to research as much as I could, but here's the thing. You started to see that Google was censoring a lot of things. There was mainstream media twisting things. I'm like, wow, it's gotten harder. In 20 years of me leading this life, now is the hardest time to find information. Now, and we have computers in our pocket.
At our fingertips.
This is crazy. I've never seen anything like it. And I've researched fringe, quote unquote, conspiracy, quote unquote, fat is unhealthy, distance running is like all these things. Like, wait, I've been in this. I can't find information. It is so hard for me. And I'm a professional in this field. So that's where I was like, okay, I need to try to get information, not to convince people, just to keep them exposed so they can make the best decision possible in the face of this whole thing. You know what I mean? Like be a steady train of information.
You know, when you talk about the compound effects of everything you choose to do, right? And when you were talking about that, you're talking about building up your immune system in a way, keeping yourself healthy, keeping yourself active, keeping yourself being able to do all these things. And here's the narrative now. Fast food places, bars, restaurants, they're all open. We can go do that, but we can't go to the gym. We can't do these things that are going to keep us healthy. Let's talk conspiracy for a second, because I've gone down the conspiracy theory thing for the first time in my whole entire life. I've always been interested in the idea of what conspiracy theories are, and now it's peaked even more now that they've confirmed aliens are real. Which is that's a whole nother thing. But let's go down that path a little bit with what is the narrative that you believe is being driven versus, hey, let's step back a little bit and listen to things that you're posting, listen to things beyond CNN and you know, all those other news outlets.
So that was the big thing, that they feel if germs who's saying this? So government officials, medicine's been politicized, it's consumer, it's run by Big Pharma. Big Pharma owns FDA, CDC. Look at all the commercials on mainstream media. What are the commercials of? Drugs. Big Pharma owns everybody. So that being said, what's their agenda? They want a vaccine, and that's fine. Fauci wants to, he'll support that. He's got $500 million invested in vaccines for a virus they can't isolate. Yeah. They're already invested. They're not going to back out now. So it's like, okay, if that's the agenda, who's giving this propaganda? Who's giving this information? Nobody trained in health. Nobody who actually has classes in prevention and health. They have basic science that Dr. Bill and I have for 2 years. This is hammered into us. Then they go pathology. We had a little toxicology. We go tons of x-rays, tons of physiology, tons of neuroanatomy. They go into pharmacology and pathology, and then their specialty. There's no classes in anything health related. Yet in America, we have these people standing at the forefront on pedestals giving us advice on how to survive healthfully. And really what the narrative is, it's how not to die immediately. That's what our hospital does. If we present to a doctor, they take your vitals, they look at all these tests. Are you going to die right now? No. Okay, then that's a nuisance. What your body is experiencing, we're going to quiet that down because you're not going to die right now. But if we were going to die right now, we're fantastic. Emergency care, America is the bomb. If I have a bone sticking out of my skin, I'm so happy we're in America. If it's not that, you do not want to go to the hospital or your doctor's office. Like, you have a better a medical doctor's office. Allopathic is what we call it. And so that's the narrative now, is that they're pushing to try to avoid every germ possible, try to disinfect every germ possible, try to stay away and see people as vectors of germs, which we have trillions on our skin, in our cells. Bacteria and viruses, the microbiome, are the only reason we're here now. They teach us a lesson. Everyone wants to pin polio as being solved by vaccines. Polio taught us how to defend measles, scarlet fever, whooping cough, mono, all these things that we're supposed to go through so the immune system figures out how to level up for what's coming forward in life. They're now saying they're injecting like the measles virus into brain tumors, and the body's fixing it. It's like, wait, so what if we went through measles naturally, built up the antibodies, would we defend against certain cancers later on? Dude, the body knows. It already knows the path that you're going to go to. And that's what they're not allowing us to hear now, is no part of it has been about health. If it was about health, every commercial, every press conference, I didn't even know what they're called, because I was like, I don't see them. What are they doing on TV now? They would all be about, hey, get sunlight, meditate, pray, breathe, sleep, homemade meals. We're going to keep open small businesses. We're going to let you buy seeds. We're going to let you. No, instead, they closed all that stuff off. Everything's about a fast food or a drug. And it's like, dude, this isn't about health at all. Because if it was, there'd be healthy propaganda. Instead, it sucks, because every cancer patient is $750,000. $750,000. Medicine is consumer. And that's why I set up, if I do my job, I should be out of business. If I do my job right, I don't even want to, I want to be a farmer or something. Like, I don't like that I have to do this, but I feel like it's my mission, right? And so that's the thing. Nothing has been about health. That's it, regardless of where you stand, guys. If this virus is so threatening, and really it's our bodies that are going to defend against it, or watch this, if they even say, because that's what they say, there's no cure. A vaccine is the cure. Okay. They're banking, if you injected a virus, they did this with the Spanish flu, they did this with other illnesses. If you inject it directly from one person to the next, nobody got sick. Why? Because the body, it wasn't the terrain of the body to allow it to take place. Otherwise, you would have gotten expressed symptom.
So what they need to receive it.
Exactly. So what they have to put into these vaccines are some really crazy, gnarly, dirty stuff, so that your body freaks out, creates an immune response. And that's how, so they're banking on your immune system responding. So I keep saying, as a quote, our immune systems end pandemics. In quotes, pandemics is in quotes. And I've been saying this from the beginning, and I'm like, it doesn't matter who you are or what you believe. That line is true. Because if you're going to wait for a vaccine, you better damn well hope your immune system responds. Otherwise, you're not going to survive the vaccine. You're not going to survive tomorrow. So our immune systems, regardless, need to be the focus. And unfortunately, that's not the narrative right now.
Well, it's crazy because, look, they have the flu shot. I don't remember the last time I got the flu shot. I was probably like my parents brought me. You know what I mean? I was like a little kid. If I even got it then, I don't know. But I do know people who get it and they still get the flu. They still get these things. You're like, well, what was the point? Like, what are you then injecting in your body? And you start to go down that rabbit hole of whatever, right? And so are you under the belief that COVID-19 is real? You're not that, are you on that side?
So here's where I'm at. Like, because there are some theories that there's something called exosomes. Did you get into that at all?
No.
So if let's say you and I are living and we're doing the best we can, and we have turnovers of cells and all the time, and our cells get damaged through physical, emotional stressors, electromagnetic stress, you name it, falls, traumas, thoughts, negative thoughts, whatever, cells damage. The cell has trillions of particles of stuff, and they release this intelligent matter called exosomes carrying microRNA. They mimic viruses. They're the size and shape of viruses. Well, those exosomes have intelligence that, depending on what's the threat, they will go trigger an immune response to a certain tissue, lungs, nasal cavity, skin, and measles. And so it's some of the argument. Now, I can't confirm, right? Because everything's theory, but it's like these exosomes are released to teach your body how to immune system level up to survive whatever. So it's not really a virus of anything, because a virus is dead. It needs a live host, right?
Right.
So then there's that where it's like, it's an exosome. And I'm like, well, maybe. I've never heard that, but that's interesting. So, okay, is COVID-19 real? Well, if it was, that picture that you always see of it, that's a made-up picture. That's a cartoon graphic. They've never been able to isolate or see it.
Right.
So that's the thing. Like, of all other viruses, they could do it. They could isolate it down to a thing. So here's the thing. Like, one, they can't isolate it down. Does something exists? Like, I don't know what it is. There's like so many COVIDs in our body, right? Like, there's COVID infinite. Like
Right.
there's stuff they haven't even measured yet. So I think it's real. Is it an exosome? Is it a virus? I don't know what it is. But here's the scary part. In order to create a vaccine, they have to have that particular virus isolated to put in that material in. They haven't identified it. So what the hell are you making?
Yeah, what are they testing? What are they testing right now? They're apparently testing things like
that's
on
another
humans.
thing. With the PCR test and the antibody test, what are you guys testing for? You guys could run the test so sensitively that 100% of us would have the genetic material set a test off positive. That's how a goat, a piece of fruit, a tailpipe, a empty test, they're all coming back positive. So it's one of those things where I believe in the vastness, there is something. And then some are even arguing that it's genetically modified and made by Bill Gates, right? Or patented in 2019. It's like, dude, regardless of what it is, worst case scenario, it's that. It's a man-made thing, because if it was natural, it's been that way forever. Like we've just naturally been exposed to stuff, and sadly, survival of the most adaptive is going to happen. So, but if Bill Gates made something, ooh, okay, what can you do? You can't take him down. You're not going to win. So what do? You just focus on self and just get ready and prepare as best you can. That's the thing. It doesn't matter what it is. You just prepare your body for the worst case scenario. You do the best you can. You be a really good person, and you just live a life as high as you can, and you just go. Charles Eisenstein said, medicine here is to not die. That's the way medicine does it. It doesn't matter about quality, just that you didn't die. And so that's like my brother passed away from mental health. His last 4 years were hell. And it's like, did he live a better life extending it through drugs and psychiatric medications for 4 years? Or if he would have just passed away 4 years early on his own terms, naturally, it's one of those arguments, right? We don't know. I don't know. I talked to Nurse Rita Rogers. She's a fantastic woman, ICU nurse in Illinois, front lines. Rita, what is it, quote unquote? Like, you're in the hospital. If somebody comes in and they're like, oh, this is an ACL, or this is I already know kind of characteristics. I could kind of see like, oh yeah, that's an ACL. What's a COVID patient? She's like, honestly, it's just like any other flu, but she's like, of the people coming in, but there's a slight different lung response, slightly different. It wouldn't even, the general public should have no idea about it. It should only be nurses and doctors in the hospitals. That's it, that you would notice
the difference.
That's it. You wouldn't even notice. It's just a small trend. Maybe it's the new flu, because that's why flu shots have never worked in 80 years, is because the flu constantly evolves.
Every year.
Oh yeah, it does. So do we. So that's the thing. I was like, wait, so you can only pick this up through x-ray? She's like, yeah, there's no tests. We have people coming in. There's certain clotting going on in the lungs. It's interesting because it hasn't happened as of. She's like, but other than that, who's dying? The people who would have died of the flu last year. And I'm like, who's surviving? She's like, everybody. What do? We tell them to take care of themselves. Like, it's not any different. But the trached people or the ventilated people who they've been told you have to do it this way, 10 out of 10 die when they're ventilated. Right? Yeah. So that's like, who gave that away?
Did you see Michael Yo? Did you watch that interview on Rogan? So Rogan had Michael Yo on, and Michael Yo got real sick from it. And I guess his doctor made the decision for whatever reason. This is when they were traking everybody. They're like, trach him. Michael Yo's doctor goes, yeah, he's really sick, but don't trach him, because his lungs will just quit and his body will stop working for itself. And so he ended up living, and now he's back on the radio and he's doing this thing. But if they trached him, he would have died. And that's the scary part, right? Like you said, like, our bodies are meant to fight these things off. Now, again, I am not a doctor. I am not educated enough to say anything, which is why I try and not overshare my opinions on these things. Now, if I was in your position, I'd be sharing like crazy. Right. But like the research that I've done, do I think there's something? Yeah, there's something. I don't know exactly what that is, but clearly nobody does. But I think the real question is, and it was a great leadway into, what do we do? What should we do? What are the steps we take as human beings, no matter our age, no matter where we are currently in our health? What can we do to make sure if this happens again, we don't have to worry?
So it's one thing. First, we have to understand viruses and bacteria are part of us. They are why we are alive right now. They have taught us how to evolve. They help keep a healthy balance. They help digest food. They are our immune system. Microbiome, virus and bacteria are amazing. They are amazing things. Some of them teach the majority how to evolve and adapt, and that's not always a comfortable process. Some of them teach the body how to try to process, and the body does the best it can, and it passes. But the fraction of people are the people, it's end of the line for a lot of people. So one, try not to, fear is the biggest immune killer ever. It is literally, as soon as you are afraid, depression of immune system because fight or flight kicks in. It's how we survive. It is part of the deal. We can't fear outside. We can't fear each other. We can't fear every virus and bacteria ever because we would never leave our homes and we'd never survive. So one, it's okay. Trust that your body's on it and it knows more than even me, you, or anybody on TV. Its intelligence is immeasurable. Two, your best bet through anything is to figure out ways to support your immune system. Your immune system is integrated through your nervous system, your endocrine, your hormones, your musculoskeletal, your circulatory, your respiratory, everything, your lymphatics, everything is connected. So what can we do to support that? I've had autoimmune disorder people, immune compromised, elderly, that's who we're supposed to protect, right? Because everyone says, you got to, dude, they reach out to me. They're like, why is everyone trying to protect us? We already know what to do. We take care of our immune system. So I'm like, I know. And they're like, this is crazy. They keep speaking for us, but this is not what we're doing. This is not what we believe. So they have to do it even more than you or I because they're at a deficiency. Maybe they had an organ transplant and they're on immune suppressors. Think about that, man. Like I have friends who had organ transplants and they have to, so they could sit in their homes and try to avoid everything. That's no way to live. So that they understand that as well. And if that population understands it, we got to get the majority to understand it too. Here's where we channel our focus. A daily inventory of these 8. And I want to say them again, because again, whether you suffer from or you've been branded, I don't like to say it as a anxiety and depression. We all have it. Everybody, right? Inflammation of the digestive system, Hashimoto's thyroid problem, adrenal fatigue, herniated disc, torn muscle, arthritis, you name it. The solution and the fix is always going to come from some inventory in these 8. A belief in something greater than yourself. That's number 1, because you have to understand that there's some power inside that is attempting to heal you and survive you, and it's greater than man. You have to acknowledge that power, number 1. And it doesn't matter what it is. Anything you want to say, it's personal to you. Number 2, a purpose. You have to have a reason for your day. And I get that a lot. There's people that are like, I'm like, why are you here? My mom told me to come in. Or my husband said this is a great place. No, we got to find some emotional why, an emotional reason why you're here. So it could be something long-term, like I want to live to 108 and I want to father 4 children, or I want to be the best grandmother. Okay. Or it's just, I want to get out of bed and not have foot pain. Or I want to make coffee for myself and digest it. Or I want to walk to the mailbox and back without being faint. You know, there could be, it's different grades of that, but that purpose is you. It's your why. It's your reason. Number 3 is relationships. You have to assess, this is the biggest drain of all. People that either support the hell out of your belief system and your purpose, or people that purposely challenge it, not as a mean person or a vindictive person, but somebody that challenges it to check to see where you're at on it. They're challenging you to be better. It's those really tough people that we love. You know what I mean? And they're just like, man, you make me upset, but I'm so glad you're here. That's number.
I have a number of those assholes in my life.
That's the hardest thing, right? We love them, but then we want to tabletop them and just push them over when we're done, you know? So we hug them and tabletop them. But we have a lot of acquaintances in our lives that are energy vampires. They just suck the life right out of you. And it includes family. You can put a distance up for family too. You don't have to cost your health or your life because of your family. That's not a get out of jail free card for them. Right. Number 4, very negligent in most Americans, most worldwide, sleep and naps. We need to try to get to sleep before 11, a 68 to 70 degree room, totally blacked out, silence, earplugs if you can, no food, no tech 2 hours beforehand. like a cave of solitude. You have to respect sleep, which is dependent on endocrine, because your hormone levels determine when you're tired and when you wake up. That's all about, like, happens through light and movement and sun exposure and a lot of other things. So it all ties together, but that has to come in. And if you nap through the day, power naps, like 7 to 19 minutes, multiple times a day. Prayer, meditation, and breath is number 5. I meditate. Some people pray. Other people just focus on their breath. Who cares? Just be present with breath. I love the 4-1-8-1. It's 4 in, 4 count in breath, 1 hold, 8 count breath exhale, 1 hold. The reason I say that, if we exhale nasally, we have an immune system through the nose, by the way. It's the ultimate mask. You have an immune tract in your nose. Dr. Stephen Lin, who's a holistic dentist, he just did a post. And I was like, my God, the immune organs and the cells in the lining of the nose far outweigh a mask. Like, it is sick. So we're supposed to breathe through the nose. So if you breathe in through your nose, 4, hold 1, exhale slow. The reason we exhale slower than we inhale is it boosts parasympathetic nervous system response. That's the calm and recovery. That keeps you in a healed state all the time. So if we can constantly breathe through our nose, tongue up against our palate, exhaling slower than we inhale, we are going to boost immunity. Hands down. Like, that's one of the biggest things. The biggest effector to a breath. Easy. It's easy and it's free. It's free. And you don't need to necessarily be an expert to do it. It's everybody. Babies had it. We had it right the first time because we breathe through our stomachs and we breathe through our nose till it gets clogged. And then the baby freaks out because it doesn't know how to mouth breathe. It's not born knowing how to mouth breathe. It's crazy. Right. And then the adult mouth breathes like nuts. So breathe. That's the first thing. When we panic, we panic through the mouth. It's the easiest source, path of least resistance for a short period of time. So focus on breath. Number 6, natural light exposure. Get outside. It doesn't have to be sunny in your part of the world. The sun's above the clouds. Get outside. Take your clothes off if you can. Take your shoes off and touch the grass or the sand or the mud or the gravel. But get outside. Expose yourself to fresh air and natural light. We got to get on the other side of the windows. Nourishment. So many different diets out there. I'm not a big diet supporter. Bottom line, buy your food and make your meals from scratch. Done. Like, stay right there. You will start to realize what you like, how much you like of it, and when you like it. And that's a big thing. And then you can get into the fancy stuff. But I don't think we were born to weigh our food. I just don't think it's that specific.
They didn't have scales back then, right?
no scales, like, or like macros and micros and measuring. Like, dude, nah, just go. I'm a very intuitive eater. Eat when hungry, stop when full, make it from scratch. Done. Been doing that for 20 years. Seems to be working out. And the body tells me certain things like, nope, you don't like this anymore. Oh, interesting. All right, that's cool. Or, yeah, you're done. Stopping right now. But I made all this. And then number 8, no less important, but it's number 8, body movement. What I love, here's a simple movement you can do. Walk. It took us a year to a year and a half to go through all the necessary steps to learn how to walk when we were children. And now people have forgotten how. It was so important that we spent every ounce of every waking moment to teach ourselves how to create the ability to walk. When you walk outside, it boosts parasympathetic response. It boosts immunity, plus your creativity. And the creative side, doctors have said, is what heals you. How so? Because the creative part of your being doesn't have confines. It doesn't get boxed in. It's pretty awesome. You know, when you start to think, and everyone's like, I'm not creative. Dude, everybody's creative. We all have that little side of us. It might be on a spreadsheet, you know what I mean? Or it might be positioning food onto whatever, but we have creativity. Now, if we sync up those 8 and you draw out those 8 and everybody takes an inventory of those 8 and we're honest and authentic and vulnerable, we know exactly where we need to work and what we need to do it. And this right there is the best way to put yourself in a position to survive whatever's been man-made, whatever's coming down the road, whatever's going to happen October 1st, or whatever's going to happen 2025, or whatever you can't even predict. And here's the thing, that gets you in a position to live full, because life was meant to be lived, not death feared or avoided. And that's, if I could literally send, we all share one thing in common. We all will pass away. We all will die. Like, what did we do on our time here? And I'm grateful for every second, because it was the lottery, man. It's like the ultimate lottery that we were given life. Okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to go strong. I'm going to go hard. I'm going to leave my mark and go out as high of a level as I can. And it doesn't matter where you're at on the spectrum. You get to determine not when you go out, but what level you go out at.
I love that you said that, man, because something I say all the time when I speak, or multiple times on this show I've said it. I talk about how, like, we can have all these massive goals, right? Go make millions of dollars and do this and whatever. But you have to enjoy the process. If you don't enjoy the process, it's stupid, because at the end of the day, we all have the same goal, and that's death.
Right.
So that's it. Like, that's where we're all going to end up. So might as well enjoy the process, whether you get to that million or 10 million or whatever your goal is or not. So I love that, dude. So let's get to the important stuff. How do people find you? How do they get more information from you? What's all that?
So if you go to my website, drtommyjohn.com, that'll have all my social media outlets and ways to find me. I have started a podcast. I'm 45 shows in. I do have guests. A lot of it is just me just being able to expound on certain topics and being able to challenge you. But seek out, there's a ton of information there. Instagram, again, you're going to find me on Instagram, my business page on Facebook, and Twitter. If you reach out to me, I will get back to you. Like, that's the thing. I've been told, like, everyone's like, wow, I didn't expect you to get back to me. I'm like, what's this for then? Like, you're reaching out to me. This is what social media is about, right? And people are just blown away. And it's ways for me not to spoon feed you information, but to be able to give you ways to find it, so that you can then go do the research, go do the legwork, and go figure out what's best for you. Because I'm not a big, like, do it my way kind of a person. No way. You got to figure out your plan, because it's different for everybody. Everyone's got a fingerprint, and there's a reason for that. And everyone's got a different 8 essentials, and everyone's got a different approach and a different perception. So, but reach out to me if you ever have questions, or anybody has any concerns. I do have a book out. I do want to say this, and it's minimized. I know Dr. Bill's got it, and I know Bill was. I want to say something about Dr. Bill at the end here, but so the book is targeting youth athletes on preventing injury epidemics in youth sports. But we marketed it as that because my dad is the famous pitcher. There is a surgery named after him that's hitting youth, but the solution inside is those 8 essentials. It is how you put yourself in a position to beat a virus or to survive a divorce. It's a life manual. We just had to market it towards youth sports. So literally, it's so you don't have to come to my practice. I don't want people in my practice. I want people to figure this out on their own. That's the society I want to live in. I don't want to make money off of you. So literally, get the book. Go tear through. It's called Minimize Injury, Maximize Performance. There's recipes in there. There's tests that I do in my office. There's recovery. There's breathing methods. There's training protocols. I know Bill's probably put you through some of them. He loves most of them. And I've given Bill,
he talks about your book all the time.
Dude, I've given Bill some radical programs, and he's just that, like, perfect patient, because he's so passionate and, like, wants to know. You know what I mean? And the best way to know, and he knows this, is to experience. He's like, wait, if I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to go in and do this. I'm like, Bill, This is great. Well, Dr. Bill Moss is a fantastic individual, human, father now, husband. I mean, he's just a tremendous, one of those good humans. And you know this. That's why you've been with him for so long. Yeah. He was my chiropractor as a student at school. I don't trust anybody in health. I trusted my spine with Bill. They try to teach you, donate your body to science. You donate your body to science, so you adjust each other and just blast on each other. And I'm like, wait a second. If we can create health, can't we create some serious problems in people? Oh, but you're learning. No, I'm good. No, you can set up on me, but you're not thrusting anything. So I was like, Bill, he's like, yeah. I'm like, I trust nobody. I want you, because he was so passionate and detail oriented. He pulled back the curtain on a lot of stuff, and he's trying to be a master of his craft. And I love those type of people. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Those are the people I want to hang out with. They're just thousands of repetitions over and over and over, constantly sharpen their sword, Kaizen to the max. Right. Yeah. And so, he was who we shared a lot of passion. How I am now is kind of, we've affected or infected each other. And he's just a tremendous person. I just want to state that publicly. So Dr. Bill Moss. Yeah.
No, I love it. And obviously he's been on the show before and people loved his episode. And he actually might be up there as like one of the top 4 or 5 longest episodes that we did. Cause I was in his office and we just chatted about life.
Oh, fantastic.
He at that point, I think we were like a week removed from him doing my life activation. So like we got into all that stuff.
Yeah.
And just a really, really good conversation. He's actually, if my live event ever happens, he's leading a guided meditation the morning of my event for people and stuff like that. Just such an incredible human being. Yeah,
he really is. Yep.
He really is. But I'll tell you this, man, this conversation has been extremely unique in its approach and everything that we're talking about. And it's funny because this is the first episode that I've done that's kind of a new direction with my show. I'm in the process of stepping back, and you talk about the spiritual side and meditation. Yeah. And a lot of the answers I'm getting in meditation is to change my approach in a way and stop worrying about what I feel like people need to hear and start saying what I feel like I need to say.
Hell yeah.
And so that's kind of the new direction, but I'm going to finish this episode the same way I finish every single one.
Yeah.
Since the show's called The Growth Now Movement, I wrap up every single episode with this one question. That is, in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
Oh my gosh. So I had 2 crossroads, quitting, retiring from professional baseball and going into what I've done now. So I've listened to that. That was one crossroads. The other crossroads was chiropractic school. Again, 32 years old, up against, adversity, nobody supporting me. 2 weeks before I go to school, my brother, who's a tattoo on my forearm, passes away from dealing with mental health. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm at a crossroads. I lose my best friend. Now I'm like, and this ties together. There's 2 cool stories here. Okay. I can't believe what's happening. My world is over. All you want to do is crawl under the carpet and die. You want to just plant yourself and go away. Okay. I can't do this. I need to live. Like it would be like me driving down the road and I'd be bawling. I had to pull over just to bawl and then get control of myself and move forward. Okay. He was younger than me, 3 years younger than me. So he was my younger brother, best friend, everything. I'm driving down to Atlanta, Georgia, Marietta, Georgia, and I get poured into a new profession. Well, what happened was not that chiropractic brought me anything, because the chiropractic philosophy is in everything. If you look deep in everything, it's all the same. Like it's all coming from the same place. You know what I mean?
Right.
People just repackage it. So I was looking, I'm like, okay, this isn't really anything new, but my perception of life, all the fluff, all the things I used to stress, I drank less because I just didn't feel the need to fill a void. I did it with like hookups and stuff like that, like different. It was silly. I got pulled over. I hit a car in Dunwoody, Georgia. And I was pulling over and the cop, and I would have lost my mind. Instead, I'm standing out and I was doing some spine stuff and I'm looking at the sun, and the cop comes over. He's like, "You all right?" I'm like, "I'm good." He's like, "Okay. Anything I can do for you?" I just wasn't upset. I was like, "Dude, I'm not dead. My car's fine. It'll get fixed." My perception totally changed, and I simplified everything. My life completely changed. I sold all material attachments that just weren't feeding my growth. Like, why do I need 10 leather jackets? Why do I need cashmere sweaters? Like, I need like 3 or 4. Like, really? And why do I have storage full of stuff that I think I'm going to put in a home that I think I'm going to, dude, just let it go. And it's not even worth putting on Craigslist, because for the $40 I'm going to get, it's not even worth the energy. So once I moved to California 5 years ago, I've shed a lot of who I previously was. I'm holding on to almost nothing. And my perception of life changed. And I love talking about my brother because it was the greatest moment of my life, but the worst moment of my life, because my life has been infinitely better, that if I could get somebody to understand without having to go through a death or without having to go through that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And sadly, sometimes we have to bottom out, right, in order to experience it. But that was the biggest growth process, was losing my brother. And then applying that now, I love the Salvador Dali quote, "I don't do drugs, I am drugs." Because everybody's like, in California, man, it's like, dude, you got to do like psychedelics. You got to microdose. You got to go do ayahuasca. You got to smoke. Now we got dispensaries all over the place, and it's fine. I'm like, and I've tried weed, and I'm like, okay, And I'm like, it pulls me down from this high I'm always on now. And I was like, it doesn't enhance, even drinking wine doesn't enhance my normal day. And everyone's like, you just seem like you're stoned or like you're on drugs all the time. I'm like, there's so much around me that stimulates me to be so like in awe of what we get to experience. It's a raindrop on a leaf with a ladybug next to it. There's a cat. If you follow me on social media, there's a cat, a neighborhood cat, Omi. I lay up next to him and belly scratch him and listen to his purrs, and being on the ground, seeing eye level what he sees, dude, it's a total other perspective of life. I'm noticing an ant trail, how they're organizing, how a spider's spinning a web, how this plant has changed and shifted towards the sun. There's so much intelligence around us and beauty around us. I'm like, my God, that if that's what I had to go through, that was the biggest growth. And then I always say, I'm a student of life, right? I'm an expert in nothing. I'm a student of life. And every patient that comes through the door, I'm learning from every day because I don't know anything. Like I don't have a grasp on anything. And I'm humble enough to understand that, but I'm just trying to support the person, like the power inside. And that's where I kind of feel like I grow the most, was from that instance. My brother's on my wall in my office. He's on my arm in a tattoo. He's in every single thing I do. That if I can get others to kind of see the world how he saw it and to appreciate what we got, damn, I love that question. I'm so stoked you asked that.
Dude, I love it, man. This conversation has been amazing, right? I think the big takeaway is you need to be a little bit more open to the things around you, whether it is, like you said, noticing those small things when you lay next to the cat, or the bigger picture of like, what is the real thing that we need to be doing? What's the real lesson we're supposed to be learning, man? I loved this conversation. I would love to have you on again in the future. You know, we'll talk about this whole thing in 4 months and say who's right, wrong, and indifferent.
Absolutely.
This has been phenomenal, man. Thank you.
Dude, and I appreciate the time. This was great, man.
Thank you guys so much for being a part of the Growth Now movement. This is how you can really help me out. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. And let's grow this movement to epic heights. And it's all going to be because of you guys. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next week.